Okay, so for today, we're going to talk about solving two-step algebraic equations, which is something that you guys learned last year and you did a lot of practice with last year. So we're just going to review it today. Remember, the goal in solving an equation is to get the variable by itself on one side of the equation and a number on the other side. So like x equals 8 or a equals 4. You want a variable on one side and a number on the other. To get the variable by itself, or to isolate the variable, we must reverse the operations acting on the variable. We do this by performing the inverse of each operation on both sides of the equal sign. When we perform the same operation on both sides of the equation, it doesn't change the value of the equation. So if I add 4 to one side of the equal sign, I add 4 to the other. If I subtract by 8, I subtract by 8 on the other. Multiply by 5 on left, multiply by 5 on right, and so forth. When more than one operation acts on a variable, you apply the reverse of the order of operations. Be sure also to check your answer to make sure the value of the variable makes the equation true. So let's look at our first example and see if we all remember how to do this. So the whole point of solving this equation is to get x by itself. We have 7x plus 15 equals 71. So to get x by itself, I need to get rid of the plus 15. How do I get rid of plus 15? Well, we're going to do the opposite operation. So instead of adding 15, I need to subtract by 15. But if I subtract on 15 by one side, I have to subtract the other side by 15 also. The reason I do this is that the plus 15 and minus 15 equals 0. So I've now eliminated this term. So I have the 7x, I'm going to bring that down. And then over here I have 71 minus 15. Use your calculators and you get 56. I'm sorry, 56. 56. So now I have 7x equals 56. Once again, I want to get the x by itself. How do I get rid of the 7? Well, this says 7 times x. So how do I get rid of multiplying by 7? We're going to divide by 7. And if I divide the left side by 7, I have to divide the right side by 7. These 7s reduce down to 1, so I'm left with x equals 8. X equals 8 is what we believe is the solution to our equation. But now we want to check our solution. To check the solution, you're going to follow the same steps over and over again. So the first thing you're going to do is rewrite the original equation. So the first step of every check is you rewrite the original equation. 7x plus 15 equals 71. The second step of every check is to substitute in the value of the variable. We're checking to see if x really is 8. So wherever there's an x, you plug in the 8. And we hope that the left side is going to be equal to the right side. To do that, I now need to perform my order of operations. So I'm going to do 7 times 8, which is 56. 56 plus 15, use your calculator, and you get 71, which means that the left is 71 and the right side is also 71. Is also 71. So I know that I solved this equation correctly when the left side is 71 and the right side is 71 as well. Okay, let's look at the next one. The next example, has decimals. Decimals are really annoying, but you have a calculator, so they're not really anything you should be scared of. So we want to get the x by itself. To get the x by itself, I'll need to get this whole term right here, the 0.4x by itself. So what do I need to get rid of? I need to get rid of the plus 3.9. How am I going to move it to the other side? Well, how do I get rid of adding 3.9? You're going to subtract by 3.9. And if I subtract by 3.9 on one side, I have to subtract by 3.9 on the other side. These two right here, plus 3.9 minus 3.9, are zero pairs, so they cancel out. So I'm left with 0.4x equals 1.88. Remember, use your calculator when working with decimals. Now I want to get the x by itself. So how am I going to get this x by itself? I have to get rid of what's in front of it. And whatever's in front of it is being multiplied by it. So how do I get rid of multiplying by 0.4? Divide by 0.4. And if I divide the left by 0.4, I have to divide the right side by 0.4. Remember that these two numbers here will cross out because they're equal to 1. So I now am left with x equals, and you use your calculator here, 1.88 divided by 0.4, you get 4.7. So this right here, x equals 4.7, is our solution. And once again, we're going to do a check. We're not going to check all of these problems, but you do need to be able to know how to check. So let's do one more check for class today. Do you remember what the first step of every single check is? Hope you said rewrite the original. What's the second step? Well, what's the point of the check? We're checking to see, is x really 4.7? So let's plug it in. Wherever we see x, let's plug in a 4.7. So there was the x was right over here. So I just used my solution and plugged it in there. So now let's simplify. What's 0.4 times 4.7? I have to use my calculator. So let's see. 0.4 times 4.7, and I get 1.88. And now I need to keep simplifying. 1.88 plus 3.9, and it's 5.78. So now when I substitute in 4.7 for x, the left side is equal to 5.78, and the right side is equal to 5.78. So I know I did it correctly. Let's look at the next example. Okay, once again, what am I trying to get by itself? I want to get x all by itself. To get x by itself, I need to get rid of this 7. Well, what's happening with the 7? This technically means it's a plus 7 because the sign in front is no sign, which means it's a plus. This minus sign belongs to the x. So the 7, so how do I get rid of 7? If I add 7, then I'd have 7 plus 7, which is 14, so that doesn't work. So how am I going to get rid of this 7? Hope you agree that I'm going to subtract by 7. And if I subtract by 7 on the left side of my equation, I have to subtract by 7 on the right side. When I do that, once again, over here, these 7 minus 7 is 0. So I'm left now with minus x equals 2. This is a minus x or a negative x. But I don't want negative x. I want x. So I have to get rid of what's in front. What number is in front of the x here? The number that's in front of the x is actually a negative 1. That really says negative 1x. So to get the x by itself, I'm now going to get rid of multiplying by negative 1. So I'll divide both sides by negative 1. Remember that your negative 1 divided by negative 1 is 1, so we get rid of that. We're left with x equals negative 2, your final solution. We're not going to worry about doing the check for this because you should have that down. If you don't remember how to do the check or you need extra practice, please do. Remember, you rewrite the original, substitute in the solution, and make sure the left and the right side equals each other. And for this one, I would do 7 minus x, or 7 minus a negative 2, and that is equal to 9. The last example we're going to do together today is example 4. Now, example 4 looks a little different because I actually have what looks like 2 fractions equal to each other. Does anyone remember from 7th grade what we call when we have 2 ratios that are equal to each other? Anyone remember what that's called? That's actually called a proportion. And to solve a proportion, what you're going to do is you are going to cross multiply. Okay? If you don't remember what that means, let's take a look. So, to solve this problem, I am going to multiply this term by this term. And then I'm going to set it equal to this term times this term. If we write that out, that is this. So we have 4 times 45 equals 2 times 5g. Now we got rid of the proportion, we just have a regular algebraic equation. So what do you think I can do? Well, eventually I'm going to want to get g by itself, but let's simplify. Let's simplify. What's 4 times 45? What's 2 times 5g? Well, 4 times 45, I go to my calculator, is equal to 180. 2 times 5g is equal to 10g. So now I have a really simple one-step equation, and I want to get g by itself. To get it by itself, I need to get rid of multiplying by g. I need to get rid of multiplying by 10. To get rid of multiplying by 10, I'm going to divide by 10. And if I divide one side by 10, I have to divide the other by 10. Once you do that, you get your final answer, which is g equals 18. That is the final solution to this problem. So once again, this was a proportion. The way you solve a proportion is you multiply, okay? You do your cross multiply. You're going to do 4 times 45, and then set that equal to 5 times 2. And you'll see that I did that right there. Then I simplified. I did 4 times 45, which is 180, 2 times 5g, which is 10g. Then right here at this point, I have a one-step algebraic equation. So I divided both sides by 10, and I got g equals 18, which is our final answer. I hope this video helped you to remember how to solve a two-step equation. What I'd like y'all to do right now is you're going to work on the practice problems. When you're done with the practice problems, you can check them with either Mr. B or with the answer key. And then Mr. B will let you know what your homework is for tonight.